and I've watched as the left has rapidly descended into Orwellian madness. Through over-the-top political correctness, identity politics, and 19th wave feminism, they've begun to slip into an authoritarian insanity, and no amount of mental gymnastics can unclusterfuck their broken logic. And when I say left, I'm not talking about your rational, classical liberals, I'm talking about your far-left pinko commies who get violently triggered by Trump's name. Let's look at 6 reasons why the left is now losing all around the world. Number 1. Identity politics. It's not a platform of let's make the country better, it's just straight up identity politics, political correctness, and social justice, and it's getting really old. This is why the MAGA movement had so much traction, because it stated, here are some problems we should fix, and here are the solutions. Immigration control, bringing back jobs, lowering taxes, those things benefit all Americans equally. Even if it doesn't work, even if it fails, at least they have a plan focused on enriching the lives of all American citizens in a concrete and measurable way. Unlike the Democratic Party in America or the Liberal parties in Canada or the UK that don't identify any real problems or offer any solutions. They typically don't even know what they stand for. They just use buzzwords and played out slogans like diversity is our strength because it's the current year. None of that means anything. But they know that they get more votes by talking about and exploiting other people's hurt feelings than they do by actually fixing problems. Because if a problem gets fixed, then they can't generate votes off of it anymore. And when they say diversity, they mean everyone except for straight white males whom they are openly racist and sexist towards. But if you question that, you will get called a slew of pejoratives by people who use the word Nazi unironically. The left likes to bully people and push the notion that if you're not voting liberal or Democrat, then you're a sexist, racist bigot. And any critiques of the left's policies or philosophies will get you put on their shit list. And yes, they have actual lists. But if you run on a platform based on pandering to and validating every minority group's identity as being more important than the nation's identity, you end up with a divided country of conflicting special interest groups and competing victim tribes. There's only so long that you can push for women and Jews and Muslims and gays to all have an equal voice and feel special in some sort of nationwide minority circle jerk until they all start to eat each other. And that is what is happening in the UK right now. So much for diversity being a strength, right? Honestly, the only reason that anyone rational would promote a political platform like that is if they were actually your enemies. Think about it. The left is pushing us towards globalization and disestablishment of national boundaries, the free flow of human traffic, and a new world order that nobody asked for. If I wanted to intentionally divide and destroy a free country, I would push an ultra-liberal agenda with the removal of borders, removal of free speech, and removal of weapons. And that is what people like Angela Merkel, Theresa May, and Trudeau are doing. They are using 1984 like it's an instruction manual. Okay, great, Trudeau. Your cabinet is gender balanced, and we now have a multicultural transgender Muslim kindergarten in the sky, high on Tide Pods. Where does this end? Can we now talk about important matters, like the opioid crisis, the economy, or the large gang of El Salvadorian jungle Satanists, MS-13, that are currently illegally crossing the border and bringing an arsenal of drugs and weapons with them? Do you think maybe those issues should take priority over singing Kumbaya and braiding each other's hair and making laws against criticizing Islamic rape gangs? No? No, that makes me racist and a bigot? Okay, great talk. The solution is to stop focusing on what makes us all different and focus on what makes us all the same. At the end of the day, diversity is not a strength. Unity and common goals are, regardless of your gender, race, religion, and sexuality. And if we stopped pandering to and elevating only specific identities and minorities, maybe those differences between us wouldn't be made so apparent and there wouldn't be resentment. And then we could all just focus on things that are actually important, like preserving freedom for everyone. Number 2. The far left doesn't want freedom. Besides them constantly screeching about tolerance and equality, they seemingly dislike constitutional rights and freedom of speech. Dissenting opinions of any kind are forbidden in their echo chambers, and anything that doesn't fit their politically correct narrative needs to be banned and blocked. Many people on the far left in America openly admit that they want the First and Second Amendment removed from the Constitution. These are the types of people who want to see right-leaning activists like Lauren Southern or Tommy Robinson not only blacklisted from the internet, but arrested for their beliefs. The government doesn't even need to engage in a far-reaching mind control conspiracy to entrap these people. They just have to encourage their own citizens to patrol each other anonymously through social media, thought policing, witch hunts. And they are. But thankfully, rational people on both sides of the political spectrum are starting to see through this and are marching in the streets to protect their freedoms. Even if the media refuses to show this, it's happening. And it's another sign that the far left is losing. In order to have freedom, the government should live in fear of the people, not the other way around. That is what the United States was built upon. That's the whole reason it exists. Settlers wanted to live here free and independent with a certain set of guidelines to ensure those freedoms. And they will never, ever bend a knee to a monarchy or its rules ever again. Freedom is the entire point of the United States. They shot the Kingsmen, they burnt their boats, and they kicked their asses back to England. So if you don't want freedom of speech or for other people to have a constitutional right to own a gun, maybe you should move to Germany. They're seemingly taking anyone right now. Luckily, there has been a shift to the right around the world recently. For example, Hungary and Poland have already flipped to a more right-wing government in terms of protectionism, populism, and nationalism. And now Italy has followed suit and is planning to deport 500,000 illegal immigrants. So I hope they like travel because they have to travel out of that country. This is why people like Theresa May and Angela Merkel are pissing themselves. Even in Canada, Trudeau should be shaking as Ontario just elected a conservative government. Now the Liberals in Ontario are not even a party anymore. They're cancelled like Roseanne. Justin Trudeau's handlers are now trying to reverse some of the damage before next year's election because he went too hard, too far, and too fast into Cucktown, and everyone is showing their true feelings about it at the ballot box. If it were 2050, maybe it would have been okay, Trudeau. When all people are just bionic, genderless, raceless androids and we're serving the New World Order and George Soros. But right now we want to keep our freedom. Thanks. 3. The leaders on the left are a joke. I mean, look at them. They may not even be from this earth. I have seen no substantial evidence that German Hillary or Trudeau are even human beings. In fact, this video from the G7 summit shows that Trudeau's eyebrows are seemingly falling off. Like many Canadians, it appears that his eyebrows are trying to migrate south to escape from his bad ideas. Have his eyebrows always been fake? Is this just a glitch showing in his human being costume, and underneath he's some sort of politically correct android like Mark Zuckerberg who was created by the CIA? Well, that's speculative. Honestly, it's probably just a weird shadow on his bushy brows. Or perhaps his handlers put different eyebrows on him based around the different emotions he should be displaying, and these were his negotiation eyebrows. These people are simply just a bunch of dorks, and they shouldn't be put in charge of anything. Number 4. Political correctness has gone too far. Honestly, we're just sick of it. PC culture and internet morality police have tried to alter what we can say, and it's ruining comedy. George Carlin would be turning in his grave. What's worse, though, is the hypocrisy of it all. Only the things that offend the left need to be censored. They canceled Roseanne for tweeting Valerie Jarrett saying that she looked like a character from Planet of the Apes, which is just objectively true. It wasn't meant to be racist, and no one, including Roseanne, even knew this woman was black until the left made this into a race issue. And they canceled her TV show, the most successful television show on ABC in the last 18 years. Yet no one cared when the Huffington Post said the same thing about George Bush, who is part Irish, another historically marginalized group that used to be depicted as apes. But that's how this game works. Samantha Bee can call Ivanka Trump a feckless cunt and is celebrated for it, and Robert De Niro can say "fuck Trump" in his speeches at the Tony Awards and get a standing ovation. But if a celebrity had said that about Obama, they would have been immediately injected with the AIDS virus. Honestly, I think that people should be able to say whatever they want, regardless of where they fit on the political spectrum. The problem is the massive double standard about it, and the left is completely out of touch with the thoughts of half of the country, and rather than acknowledging that there are other talking points, they would rather pretend that we're all just some small minority of Nazis or something. That type of hubris is why they lost the 2016 election, and why people are leaving their political sphere. 5. The media. Almost all mainstream media throughout Western nations is left-leaning with an obvious political agenda. The news stopped being the news sometime in the mid-90s, and Gallup polls have shown that only about 23% of Americans still trust mainstream media. They've destroyed their credibility over the last few years, and more people are seeking independent news sources. Outlets like CNN and the Huffington Post have become a punchline in the last 24 months. And just this week it came out that a woman named Ali Watkins, who worked for both BuzzFeed and the New York Times, was sleeping with an intelligence agent for Intel. They make a TV show about that. I guess they can call it American Horror Story. I suppose it is dedication to your job if you're willing to give head to get ahead, but yikes. The mainstream media is acting in the capacity of a secret agent against their own country. Think about that. Sleeping with members of government intelligence and creating leaks? That seems like a pretty big deal. And this is conspiratorial. But mainstream media hasn't been doing very well financially over the last decade in the age of digital media. They are begging users to give them money and to stop watching alternative news sources like mine on YouTube because they are losers and they are losing the information battle. But despite their declining financial success, they haven't gone out of business. And one of the easiest explanations for that, as speculative as it is that the media companies are funded by political interest groups or even the CIA. We know that Project Mockingbird was real and is probably still happening to this day. Even former CBS and CNN reporter and Emmy Award-winning Cheryl Atkinson, who had 30 years in the industry, has said that there is an unprecedented influence on the media, not just the news, but the images you see everywhere, by well-orchestrated and financed campaigns of special interests, political interests, and corporations. The funny thing is that we're winning without the millions of dollars and the thousands of writers. We're just people and cats changing political dynamics by making and sharing videos and memes. Which brings us to number 6. The left can't meme. I mean, they really can't, and you shouldn't underestimate the importance and influence of a good meme. As silly as that sounds, memes have changed the game. Memetics will define the cultural and political influence of our time. They're funny, they're simple, and they spread like wildfire. In most cases, a viral meme can do more for a political campaign than money can. And the best thing is they can be created in minutes. I mean, 4chan is a meme factory and it can't be contained. They've tried and failed. I knew Hillary was 100% going to lose when she was giving a speech on typical identity politics and someone yelled Pepe at her.
These are racist ideas, race-baiting ideas, anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant, anti-women, all key tenets making up the emerging racist ideology known as the alt-right. Now,
that is the power of meme magic, which is why they want to shut down and control the internet now. Leaked documents in the past have shown that George Soros was calling for taking certain information off the internet, and that the internet should benefit those who are most supportive of an open society. And a new EU law could change the online world forever by effectively banning memes, remixes, and other content which incorporate copyrighted material. The EU is set to vote on this later this month. But they're using copyright infringement as a guise. In reality, the left cannot meme, and the only way that they can stop it and us is to basically cancel the internet. But any call for censorship is to hide the truth. That is how bad they're losing. They've already banned weapons, speech, and now they're banning memes? They don't want people like me or you to exist or to talk about the things that we talk about because we're just revealing that the great and powerful Oz is just a small, scared man behind a curtain. We still have a chance for the internet to become the bastion of freedom that it was promised to be. We can continue to expose politicians and demand that they're held accountable for their crimes. We can turn their propaganda machine into a truth factory and crush them under the weight of their own corruption. We just need to come together, get organized with the common goal of freedom. If we start working together and pushing out the truth, the corrupt won't be able to keep up. They're already falling behind and crumbling. The only safeguard against tyranny is the free flow of information.